how did you get into Power Rangers and Sailor Moon, and how did you become so comfortable cosplaying within those series?
I got into it. I mean, my my sister and I grew up watching Sailor Moon. It's one of my earliest memories of watching television. It was five, then 10 powerful women that like fight evil by moonlight to go back. And the opening was such a bop too. I would
Oh
say
yeah.
90s anime songs were so good, like Dragon Ball Z, Digimon, Sailor Moon.
Alexa, put on my 90s anime playlist.
Yeah, but like I think the storytelling was so good. Like if you compare that to, and it actually had storylines and plot lines that continued from day on and day out. As much as I did love like watching Simpsons and watching like some of the other cartoons of the day, like I definitely watched Looney Tunes and other stuff, probably even older. As Sailor Moon just continued on, and the same thing with Power Rangers. Like it had like strong superhero characters. What I also loved about like Power Rangers is it had diversity, and like how many Asian people, how many Black people were superheroes at that time in that decade, and it was just so cool. I'm really glad that my parents let us watch this stuff, because I definitely had friends that they're like, "Oh, I never got to watch Sailor Moon because my parents didn't let me because it was sacrilege or whatever." They were just a cool bunch of characters, and it was shows that I could watch with my sister, and we always had a character. So like in Sailor Moon, my sister was always Sailor Moon, and I'm like, "Well, I like nerdy stuff." So I was very much into Sailor Mercury at the time. And for Power Rangers, again, like we got to assign our roles. My sister was always the Pink Ranger, and I was always the Yellow Ranger, and we could just fight evil and have fun. And it was just our biggest source of entertainment growing up as kids was TV, to be honest.
Yeah, all of us 90s kids, we were raised by television. I think that was a more effective teacher than anything that I learned through school.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something about those shows. They were just so well written. They were of the era, but they were ahead of their time as well. Like there was diversity that some people feel that diversity today is very performative, or the wokeness is being forced down our throats. Power Rangers had all of that, but I was learning lessons without even knowing I was being taught something. And Sailor Moon was very progressive with their interpersonal relationships as well. There were strong dynamics with the friendships and even like the more romantic relationships. And I liked the fact that as a kid I didn't blink twice. Yeah, even though I watched the dub and they would like clean things up here and there, it was still an interesting story and it was quite clear what you were watching on TV. So me being like a 5, 6, 7, 8 year old kid growing up on Power Rangers, growing up on Sailor Moon, seeing the cast grow and expand by each character having so much depth to them, that was really great. And I wish more shows were like that. I think television is better today than ever before, but I don't get the same vibe watching shows that I did with Sailor Moon. I still think back about Sailor Moon and how great of a show it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. I think nowadays, like you try to replicate that success in a lot of shows, and it just doesn't have that same organic feel to it. But I mean, I still watch some modern cartoons. I mean, if you count Avatar: The Last Airbender as modern, I think it's a little dated now, actually, now that I think of it. Um,
Where does the time go?
I don't know. Through my 20s, I can say the exact same thing. But even when it was scrubbed and dubbed, I remember watching, for example, Card Captors, and I loved it, and I got the relationships. Like I knew that she was in love with Julian, and Lee Showron was in love with Julian too. Like despite Dick or whoever the dub was, like scrubbing it out and like making it very American and PG, like I understood all that, and it was great. Even like looking at Sailor Uranus and Sailor Neptune and their cousinship. Like everyone could tell it wasn't
Cousins.
cousins.
That's my cousin.
Yeah.
Cousin, are you okay? Oh man.
But it was nice just seeing those relationships, even if they were implied for American audiences, but very obvious to Japanese ones. It was just nice to see.
It was. It was. And I still think we get shows like that occasionally, but I would love to see something like Sailor Moon and it card captors, as you said, resonate with an audience. Again, I really love card captor. Like my name is
Yeah,
based off.
I was
So
wondering about that.
yeah, that's not like my birth name, but my birth name is very similar to Kiro. So like my first nickname that was granted to me was when we were watching Card Captors, and all of a sudden Sakura calls out for Kiro, and everyone in the room, all my cousins and friends, they look over at me, and I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'm gonna live with this name from now on. I may only be 6, but even I know this is gonna stick with me.
Oh,
But no, like that show was great, and it still means so much to me. I like shojo, I like magical girl, I really love anime. So Cardcaptor, it was just a very unique show. Clamp is very good at what they do, and the lessons that they taught. Just something about those '90s to early 2000 shows that came on. They were just so strong, and they resonated very well with a lot of us.
hmm yeah.